Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I am Dr. Krishna Bhargavi and in this video we will discuss about the form of basic SQL query. But before starting with the basic form of SQL query, let us try to understand what are the different ways in which SQL can handle our data. So to start with, SQL, we call this as structured query language. So what do you mean by structured query language? So language, we know we use a language for communication purpose. So here SQL is such a language which communicates to the database, and from the database it provides us the information whichever we wanted to retrieve. And for communication, we use certain principles. And here, SQL uses the queries to interact with the database. And why are we calling this as structured query language? The reason is SQL always handles structured data. So data is basically of three types like structured, unstructured and semi-structured data. SQL always handles the structured data, which means that the data always conforms to a predefined structure. The structure that we follow in RDBMS to work with SQL is a tabular structure. So here, any data that we have will be basically in the form of rows and columns. Here the columns, we call them as field or attribute. Row, we call them as a tuple or record. Yes, so let us try to understand that SQL is a language that is used to communicate with the database, which is basically the RDBMS database, which means that the data is stored here in the form of relations, that is in the form of tables. So here we handle the structured data, which means the data is conforming to a predefined structure. And the structure that we follow here is a table. Yes. So to proceed further, here in SQL, we have further sublanguages. Let me first explain you about these sublanguages. So the first language, we call this as DDL, which means Data Definition Language. The second language, we call this as DML, which means Data Manipulation or Data Modification Language. And the third type of language that we have is DQL, so which we call as Data Query Language. Some people also refer to this as DRL, which means Data Retrieval Language. So here you can mention this as data query or retrieval language. The fourth category we have is DCL, which is data control language. And the last type of language which we call as TCL, which is called as transaction control language. So these are the 5 broad categories of languages that are available in SQL in order to communicate with the RDBMS tables. So here, whenever I say that we have RDBMS tables, these tables will have two things. First one we call as a schema, which is nothing but the structure of a given table. And the second one we call as instance, which is otherwise the information available at any given moment of time. So here coming to the DDL languages, the set of commands that are available under DDL basically works on the schema of a relation. DML commands work on instance of a relation. DQL commands work on also the instance of a relation. DCL commands have the ability to control both the users as well as the data. So this language works on both the schema as well as instance of a relation. Coming to TCL, this works on the instance of a relation. So here, provided a relation to you, it can consist of either the the tables consist of an instance and its related schema. So the sublanguages that are available under SQL will work either on the schema or on the instance. So let us first understand the command set available under SQL, and then we will proceed with the SQL basic form. So here under DDL commands, we have a list. So the DDL commands that we have are create, alter, drop, truncate, rename, and the last command is comment. So these are the command set that is available under DDL. The next set of commands that are available under DML are used to perform manipulations on the data. Those commands are insert, update, and delete. So prior to the version of Oracle 10G, we have DQL also under DML, but from 10G onwards, Oracle 10G onwards, we have got another command here called merge, and from Oracle 10G version onwards, we have got this new language called as DQL, which has only one command called select. Please do not think that you have only one command under DQL, but it has all the capabilities to retrieve data from RDBMS tables. And then coming to DCL, this is the language which is used to control the privileges for users as well as the objects in the database. The commands that are used to grant the privileges is grant, and to revert the privileges from the user is using revoke. Now, the last set of commands which are used to perform control on the transactions that we perform on the database are commit, rollback, and save point. So these are basically the commands which are used to either save the data or perform a rollback or undo of operations on our data. So this is the command set that we have under Oracle. So in today's video, we will focus on the DQL part, and in the coming videos, we will also discuss about the rest of the commands. So here moving forward, as I said you, query is the form in which you are questioning the database in order to get a response from it, right? So let us try to understand what is that basic form in order to query the database. So here, any SQL select statement is having three capabilities. And the purpose to use this select statement is to extract data from the database. So what are the different ways in which we can extract this data? So the first way is called as projection. So as the data is available in the form of tables, projection helps you to select only the columns in a table. The second one is a selection, which will help you to select the rows in a table. Here, with either a projection or the selection, if you can observe, we are retrieving data from only a single table. But in the real-time situations, we can have data in multiple tables. So the third capability of select is using joins, which will basically allow you to retrieve data from multiple tables. So let us confine ourselves with the discussion of the projection capability in this video. So let us proceed with projection. So here with the projection, as we discussed, it is used to retrieve data with respect to the columns of a table. And this is the syntax that we use to perform the complete projection capability. So let us try to understand and break down this syntax into parts so that we understand how to use the select statement. So here, let me first explain you what are these different parts that we have. So the first one here, star indicates if you wanted to retrieve all columns in a table. So as an example, if I say I have student table where I am having student roll number, student name, their subject in which they got the marks, their phone number, their CGPA. This is the data that I have. So if you wanted to retrieve all the student attributes, irrespective of each individual attribute, if you wanted to retrieve all attributes, just mention star. Yes. If you wanted to retrieve only specific attributes, like I wanted to retrieve the student name along with their CGPA, only these two attributes are needed. So in that case, mention the name of the column separated by comma. So in the second case, we mention student number, comma, CGPA, right? And the third one, you can make use of expressions. So here in SQL select statement, only the arithmetic expressions are allowed, which means that the expression will involve an arithmetic operator. Here in SQL, the arithmetic operators we have are multiplication, which is represented by star, division by slash, addition plus, subtraction minus. We do not have modulus as a arithmetic operator. So while giving the expressions, you can provide the expression in the select statement as a column, operator, another column, or column, operator and a constant value, or a constant value, operator and a column, or you can provide constant value, operator and another constant. So the operator that we can use is one among these four, and the columns are the columns that are available in the table from which you are retrieving the data, and these constants are the constant literals, which can be a number, a character, or the date, data type. Yes. So alias name is the alternative name that you provide for this expression. So in which situations do we go for alias and what is the purpose of alias? We will again try to understand that. Okay. So the minimal number of clauses which are needed in order to work with this projection capability are basically two. You require only two minimum number of clauses in order to work with the projection capability. And what are those two clauses that you require? One is the select clause and the second clause is from. So here in the from clause, always you specify the name of the table from which you would like to retrieve the data. Yes. So this is the complete form of syntax when we are applying the projection capability. Let us break down this syntax into parts and try to understand and figure out how we can retrieve data from the database. So here is the explanation of each of these clauses in the projection capability of a select statement. Proceeding further. Here for our practice, we are making use of Oracle SQL Star Plus. In the previous videos, I already have mentioned you how to install Oracle on your machines. If you wish to, you may please go for the link that is provided in the description to go and check for the Oracle 10G installation. You can make use of any Oracle servers for the execution of SQL star plus. So let us try to understand here how to work with SQL. So directly you can open SQL command line from your terminal, and here at the SQL prompt provide connect HR/HR. So this is the existing user that was created by Oracle for our purpose to understand and analyze the data that is already available in this schema. Yes, so here we have tables like employees. So here I am making use of a command to see what are all the attributes that I have in the employees table. So here, if you observe, we have different data types, right? So here on the screen, if you can observe, we can see that there are three data types: character, date, and number column. So always in the output, in order to understand what is the data type of the data that we are using, here you can consider that the character and date data type column headings would be in left alignment, numerical columns would be in right alignment, and always the heading will be in uppercase. You can change this default display of heading by making use of an alias name. We will see how to make use of alias name to change the heading display. So let us proceed further to understand better about the projection capability. So here is the first query. We would like to retrieve all the employee details. So here if you observe, we have these many attributes in the employees table. So it would be difficult for us to separate each of these columns and make use of them in the select statement. For that reason, here you can mention this by breaking down this select statement into the two clauses that we have. So here we can mention like this. So please observe. So under the selection, the projection capability of the select statement, we make use of two clauses which are select and from clauses. And one more important point is SQL language is basically case insensitive language. So the command that you are using, that you are providing here, can be in any case, but the data that is available in SQL, the data available in the tables, this is case sensitive. So while you are searching for data, please ensure that you are searching for the right case data. Okay. So always try to fill the from clause first. So from which table would you like to retrieve the data? From employees table. Always delimit the select statement with a semicolon. And here we require all the employee details, right? So to represent all the employee details, mention star over here. So this is the way in which we can write the select statement. Internally, RTBMS will execute in this order only. First, the from clause will be retrieved, which will identify the table name, and then it goes to the select list and understands what are all the attributes that it wants to display. So here please observe, I am mentioning select star from employees ended with a semicolon. Here if you can observe, I have received 107 employee details, right? So here I am setting the page and the line sizes so that the table that we tried to view can be observed in single statement. So please observe what are all the attributes that we can retrieve here. Employee ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, hire date, job ID, salary, commission, manager ID, and the department ID. Yes, hope I am clear. So here basically we have around 107 records in the employees table of HR schema, right? So this is how you can retrieve all the details from the employee table. Let us move on with the second query. Retrieve salary and designation of all employees. So if you observe this question, you do not require all the attributes, right? So let us start with select from. So from which table would you like to retrieve the data? From employees table. And what are the attributes that you wanted to retrieve? Only salary and designation. So mention salary, and here in this table designation is available with the attribute job underscore ID. So now let us try to execute the same and see how the data is retrieved. Salary comma job underscore ID from employees. So please observe here again all the 107 records are retrieved. As I told you, in SQL the numerical data is right aligned, character data is left aligned, and the headings are always in uppercase. Okay, so these are given so that you understand what type of data is available in the table. Okay, so let us proceed further. The next query is to display the annual salary of all employees. So here in the employees table, the salary attribute that we had is basically monthly salary. So now to evaluate this expression, we will have to mention select and from clauses. Again, we would like to retrieve data from employees table only. And the select statement will have salary into 12, right? So we wanted to evaluate the annual salary, and the salary available in the table is only monthly salary. So the same statement you can mention like select from employees, and here you specify 12 into salary. So as I told you, with an expression you can have constant and an operator and another column, or a column followed by an operator and then a constant. Either of the order gives you the same result. So let us see the output here. So here you mention select salary into 12 from employees. Let us observe what is the output. So this is how the output is. But here if you observe, it is just printing the same expression which you have written in the select statement. Salary star 12. But when you are giving such a type of report to the end user, they may feel awkward in understanding what is the expression indicating. So for this reason, we make use of alias name. So alias name is basically the alternative name that is given to the expression or the column, and this is applicable only for that select statement. So now let us try to understand the different ways in using this alias. So here to go with, I am writing select from which table? Again the employees table, and we would like to retrieve salary into 12 and provide this an alias name. So whatever the rules that an identifier takes, all those rules can be given here. So if I wanted to have annual underscore salary, yes, this is allowed. Let us try to observe the same output here. Select salary into 12, and I am saying space annual underscore salary from employees. Yes, please observe the output. Output is still same, but observe the heading. It has been transformed into complete uppercase here, though I have given in a case sensitive language, right? And the second thing is, If you wanted to provide a space between the alias name, this is not allowed. So here, if I rewrite the same statement just by producing a space over here, please observe it will throw you an error message. The reason is space here at the place of salary, actually the from clause is expected, but you have given salary, right? So how to include space and how do you make that the heading to be case sensitive, right? So here, when you wanted to make the alias name case sensitive, you just mention that in double quotations, right? So here, from which table would you like to retrieve data? Employees table, and the expression is a salary into 12. Just mention here annual space salary in double quotations. So there are two purposes to make use of these double quotations. First one, it allows white spaces while you are mentioning the alias name. And the second thing is it ensures that the heading will become case sensitive, or otherwise the default heading will be in uppercase. So now please observe, here I am mentioning in double quotations annual space S salary in uppercase. So please observe the output. It is not turned into uppercase, it is with init cap only or the camel case only, right? And even space is allowed between the words. So this is the advantage that you can gain from aliasing. Yes, so here when you are making use of alias, please ensure that the alias is provided only in double quotations. Single quotation is not allowed. So a second point is when you are working with arithmetic operators, please ensure that these arithmetic operators are allowed only on date and number columns. On character data, the arithmetic operators do not work. So let us proceed with the next question. So please try to display the result of 144 into 15. So as I told you, you can evaluate an expression not just providing column name with an operator, but you can also have column, an operator and another column. So here if I write select from and the table name still I use is only employees and I write 144 into 12. So the first question is, will this select statement work? The reason is in the employees table, you are trying to evaluate a constant value, which is not working on any column of the table. So let us try to execute this and understand. So here I am mentioning select 144 into 12 from employees. Try to execute this statement. And if you observe, this will give you the answer. But how many times? All the 107 records, right? So what will happen here is, for each record, it evaluates the expression and it produces the output. But this is not expected from us. We just wanted to give the result to the user, providing only the single occurrence of the output, right? So here, to evaluate the expressions, any arithmetic expression, instead of using the table containing data, you can make use of a dummy table which is available under Oracle, which is called as dual table. So this is a dummy table in Oracle which is having only one column and only one row. And this column is of varchar data type, which is nothing but character data type. Right? So how do I need to mention this now? Select from the table that we would like to use is dual, and the expression that I wanted to evaluate is 144 into 12. Provide it a alias name. So now let us try to execute the same here. Select, I'm sorry, 144 into 12, providing it an alias name. From, instead of providing employees, now I am providing dual here. Please observe, the record is displayed only once and the heading is provided to you. So whenever you have arithmetic expressions to be evaluated, you can make use of this table, which is called as dual. The second thing is, you can also describe a dual table here in order to understand what is the attribute that you have and what data type is it available. Okay, so let us proceed further. Here, in addition to the data types that I have told you, so in SQL, we have many data types, but as of now, for our practice and understanding, SQL is having three preliminary data types or the primary data types. The first one we call as number, second one character, third one date. Other than this, we have many other data types in SQL. And SQL is having a significant value which we call as null. So this value is not equal to 0. It is not equal to an empty space, right? So when do you make use of a null value? It is not your null character in C or any other programming language, right? So here, whenever you do not have a value, if the value is not applicable to the situation, if the value that you have in hand is inappropriate, do not give a random value saying 0 because it has a value. Do not give an empty space because even this is also having an ASCII code. So better mention that as null. So null represents nothing. It is never equal to 0, never equal to an empty space. Right? So if I wanted to store the phone number, a student is there who would like to provide a phone number. Another student is there who would not like to give their number. So in this case, do not put 0. Instead, put this as null. Right? So here, whenever you are working with these null values, when you are trying to evaluate a null, it will result in a null value only. Right? So here, commission underscore PCT is such an attribute which is giving you the percentage of commission that each employee earn. So generally the commission will be given only when he is working for more time. So few employees will be earning 25% of their salary. Few employees will be given 0.5 of their salary and few employees will not be earning any commission at all. So in such situations, represent that by null. So if you are trying to evaluate expressions like this using null value, and this commission underscore PCT is an attribute which is having a null value. So whichever rows are having these null values, this operation will still result in a null value but never equal to 0. Please try to understand this and try to evaluate it using the SQL terminal. Okay. So now let us try to understand and discuss how to display unique designations in the employees table. So here, if I just mention select, designation is basically available with the attribute job ID from employees. So here if I mention like this, I am getting all the 107 rows, right? But most of them are ST clerks and there are SH clerks, there are ST managers, right? The same designation is being repeated. But now what do you want? We require only the unique designations, right? So here for that, we can mention by making use of this clause which we call as distinct clause. So we can mention select from. So from which table? Employees table. And what would you like to select? The job ID. So here, before job ID, just mention distinct. So this distinct keyword will basically suppress the duplications while it is trying to display the attribute. Okay, so here I am changing the query. So instead of job ID, I am mentioning distinct job ID. Okay, so instead of 107 records, here observe you are obtaining only 19 records. Only unique designations are being displayed. And one more important point is when you are applying this distinct keyword, this must always be the first keyword of the select list of attributes that we are trying to retrieve. So as an example, here I would like to specify the department number and then the job ID. So here I am mentioning department ID comma distinct job ID. Please observe, it will throw you an error. The reason is it always expects that distinct is the first clause or the keyword that we use in the select statement. So here if I mention like this, select distinct job ID comma department ID. Now what will happen? The unique combination of job ID with department ID would be retrieved. So here please observe, instead of 19 I am getting 20 records. The reason is we are selecting the job ID and also the combination with the department ID to be unique. So here if you observe, there is a sales representative who do not belong to any department and another sales representative who belong to only 80th department, right? So this combination is different, so it is displaying you twice. Okay, so here whenever you are using distinct keyword, please ensure that that is always mentioned as the first clause in the select list. So let us try to display the employee name and their designation in the following format. John is working as sales representative. So John is basically name of the employee. So here I mentioned that as last name and working as sales representative. So the job ID is available with job ID attribute. So I am trying to retrieve this data from the employees table. So here if you can observe, this is represented in a tabular format, correct? But here if you observe, we wanted to retrieve that as a sentence. John is working as sales representative, right? So here we are introducing you a new term called as concatenation operator. You might have used concatenation operator in other languages. Here the operator is a double pipeline. And to use this operator, you can apply this on a column operator, another column, or column operator, a constant, a string literal or a constant operator and another column, or constant operator and another constant. Okay. So here, how should we write this? Select from, we would like to retrieve from employees table. And what would we like to retrieve? Last name. This should be concatenated with a string literal. Always the string literal is to be mentioned with single quotations. So is working as, close the single quotation as the string literal is closed here, and again the concatenation operator and then mention job ID. So as this is a complete expression, I am providing here name and job ID as the alias name. Yes. So now let us try to execute this and understand how it works for us. So instead of having a tabular structure like this, so here along with last name and job ID, we would like to make use of concatenation operator, and as a string literal is there, I am making use of single quotations. So space is working as and another concatenation operator to connect this string literal with the job ID. So I wanted to give this entire expression a column name. So here I am providing employee and job. Okay. So please observe the difference in the output. Instead of displaying as a table of values, here it is providing as sentences. So in this way, you can make use of concatenation operator, which can concatenate the column name with the string literal or string literal with column name. In either of the ways, you can make use of this concatenation operator. So here we proceed with, let's go with another question. So now we are changing the question. Please observe. We do not want this to be in this format of sentence. Instead, we wanted to display the employee's designation is some designation name. Right? So here, the problem that we face is, if I wanted to mention this as here, if I mention employees designation is. So if I mention like this, it understands that this as a combination of single quotations, and it finds ambiguity in finding the ending quotation for this. Right? The reason is all the three are single quotations. So what it has to understand this as an apostrophe mark instead of a single quotation. Correct? So let us try to understand this. So here, if I am trying to provide the same by mentioning, instead of is working, I am making use of apostrophe s designation is. So here please observe, quoted string not properly terminated. The reason is it can understand that these two are a combination. It could not find the ending of this terminal. So that's the reason it is saying you that the quote is not properly terminated. So how do you come out of this? So can we make use of a double quotation to understand that there is a difference between these words? Can we do this? Still it is saying that this double quotation and this apostrophe it is invalid. The reason is, whenever you are using double quotations, it is applicable only for alias name, not for string literals. So now how do we come out of this? Yes, so here we are introducing another concept which we call as quote operator. So by making use of this quote operator, you can resolve this problem. So here we generally mention quote operator by making use of Q, quotation mark, and a pair of symbols and another quotation mark. So whatever is enclosed between these pair of symbols, it does not consider whatever is written between this. So here, whatever text that we have mentioned in between these two symbols will not be parsed. Right? So here, instead of these square symbols, you can make use of any symbols, but enclosing them or pairing them with the pair of the symbol is important. Right? So here, how do I mention this? So we will mention here select from employees, and we mention last name concatenated with Q, quotation, bracket, and now specify apostrophe designation. So here apostrophe will be considered as apostrophe only because it does not bother what is given between this pair of symbols. And again, a concatenation, job ID, provide EMP and designation. Right? So now let us try to understand this. So here I am making use of the same thing, but instead of double quotations, here I mention Q, single quotation, square bracket, and here I'll close that with again bracket, single quotation and concatenation operator. Now please observe. You can understand that ampersand s designation is account AC underscore account, right? So in this way, you can mention or you can make use of the quote operator. So as I told you, here instead of this symbol, you can make use of any other special character as well. But pairing up them is important. So see here, still the output is working. So pairing up the operators is much needed. Yes, so there is no space on either side of the delimiter, and you can have any type of delimiter when you are working with the quote operator. So here, while you are working with the projection capability, in order to understand what are the different columns that are available in the table, you can make use of describe command. RIB is optional, so you can also mention this as DESC and then the table name. So here you can mention this as DESC departments. This is another table that is available. And then you can mention DESC locations. This is one more table. So like this, you can mention the command DESC along with the table name to see what are all the attributes that are available in the given table along with the data type. So let us try to understand or check our knowledge on how do we understand this concept. So please try to select the correct statement which will execute successfully. Pause the video for a while, try to solve by yourself and then check for the answer. Yes, the first query will not be executed for the reason that in the alias name space, if you wanted to provide, you should provide that within double quotations. Yes, the second query will be executed successfully. Third query still will execute successfully. The reason is in the question I did not tell to retrieve annual salary. Just they mentioned salary renamed as an yearly salary. Even that is correct. Fourth query also will not work for the reason that only the columns with date and numerical data type can be used with plus symbol. But here on character data they used plus. And the second mistake is alias name is not provided in double quotations even though it is having space. So what will be the correctly executed queries? Only 2 and 3. So with this I am concluding this video. In the next video we will try to understand about the selection capability. If you understand this content and if you like my video, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.